Good morning, y'all. Welcome to another video on the Luderco Arms channel. So if I sound a little rough or I start coughing or something, y'all just have to excuse me. I'm getting over this plague that seems to go around all the schools every year around this time. So we've had it run through our house like everybody else, but we're getting there. So today we need to finish up these brakes on the Dodge. So we did the front ones in another video, and at the time I had ordered a set for the back, but I got the wrong part. It was my fault. I ordered the wrong thing. So now I believe I've got the right part here, and y'all can pause it and look at it if you want. EHT967H, and these are the Element 3 pads from Ray Bestos that I like to use. They are not a sponsor, they're just what I use. Put them on the Cherokee and everything else we got. So we've already done the front. We'll get these back wheels jacked up, get the wheel pulled off, and I'll bring you back and we'll change these brakes out. So I'll be right back with that. Alright, so we got our wheel off. Now we've gone under the hood here and loosened the cap on the brake fluid reservoir. That way when we compress the piston in the calipers, that brake fluid can push back up into the tank there. And so what we've got here is a pretty simple system. Need a 10mm wrench. And on the back here, you got a bolt here, and then one right here on the bottom. So, let me get this. What we'll do is take top one off first. Now these are rather small little bolts, and they're not supposed to have a ton of torque on them, and you'll see here in a second. They're long like that, and what they do is they go all the way through here, and inside this boot right here there's a hollow spacer that this caliper can move back and forth on. Once I get the other bolt out, I'll show you that. But so we got that one out. Now we'll grab this bottom bolt out. Usually once you get it loose, you can spin it on out of there with your fingers. They're not really that tight. Alright, so there's my two bolts. Come in here and see if I can. So what that does is that just pushes the piston back a little bit so that we can get this caliper off of here. So you just tilt the top out. Hopefully you can see that. Just tilt the top out, and then the bottom will follow. But a lot of times what happens is, you see these rivets? There's rivets on these brake pads, and they will get stuck inside the hollow piston. So you've got to drop the piston down a little bit. So, all right. Set this up here somehow. You don't really want to leave that hanging by the hose, but you can bet it's going to be a pain in your behind. Alright, so we've got the caliper off. And we've got our two pads still on here. And like I said when I did the front ones, these aren't really bad, but I like to start with a new set all the way around. So we'll go ahead and slide these off, and I'll show you here. Alright, so the way these are held on here, you'll see there's a notch there, and then you've got this spring steel piece here, and it just kind of sits on there. And when you put new shoes on, you got to kind of finagle them into place, because it can definitely be kind of a pain in the behind to get in there. So you just kind of get it. There we go. So you can see right here that that can slide back and forth on there as the pad gets worn down. But our new brake pads come with new little pieces for these, so we'll be replacing those anyways. Alright, so that's that. We've got the old stuff off. Now we need to pull this metal, this sheet metal piece off, because we got some new ones in our new kit. So that's one, and then there's this one on the top. And then we want to take our new ones that we got, and we want to match them up. And you want to look, because these aren't always symmetrical or the same, you know what I'm saying? So obviously that one's not the right one for this. That one is. So that one matches. It occurs to me that I wasn't showing you that. So you got to match these up, because there's two different styles in the bag. You got the ones for the top, and then you'll see this one is for the bottom, but you see it does not match this top one, obviously. So we will put this one that matches the one we took off on here, and it just sticks over the end like so. There we go. And then you take your bottom one and put it on. And they're just held on by spring tension in that spring steel. So, got the upper on, got the lower new piece on. So those are good. Then we need a set of pads out of the box here, so we'll grab that. And it looks like all of these are exactly the same, side to side. Yep. Alright, so we've got a new set of pads right here. And what's the most important thing when you're putting these pads on? Make sure to put the friction material side to the disc. Don't put the metal side to the disc. Be surprised how many times that happens. So, in order to get these on, you got to get them kind of started in the metal piece there. Get it. It's always kind of a pain in the behind with these new ones to get them in there, but it's kind of a, there we go, that's getting there now. All right, there we go. I don't know if you saw any of that because I am doing a terrible job today. But let's see if we can do a better job on this next one. Alright. So what I was saying is you got tabs here and here. And they fit over this metal piece that you just put on. And so basically what you got to do is get that in there and jiggle it around. And get it. There we go. Just like that. So now we've got our new pads on facing the disc just the way they're supposed to be. We got our anti-rattle clips in, and all we've got to do now is get our caliper ready. So let me see if I can get this set up where I can do it and y'all be able to see it and all that good stuff. They make all kind of special tools for collapsing these and doing this job, but I pretty much still just use an old brake pad and a C-clamp. Now I do use this sometimes you gotta have like 4 fingers here. There we go. Come on. Okay. So you can see how I've got my clamp set up there. And then we'll just run that in. And once it starts pushing that piston back in, excuse me, you don't want to go too fast. You just kind of want to ease it back in there, about a half a turn at a time. And as that's going back in there, it's pushing brake fluid back up into the master cylinder. That's why you don't want to go too hardcore on it. And once you bottom it out, then you can pull that back off. Now our piston's back in. We want to check our boot here. Make sure it's in good shape. And then you've got your 2 slide pieces here. See how this slides back and forth? Right there. Up and down. Want to make sure that those are free and they're lubricated, which they are. That's why they've got the rubber boots on them. So you want to push those out like that. And that way you can get this started. You want to get it on that bottom end. And then you got it on there. Oh, man. Just like so. So you get the bottom end in first, and then you just tilt it, and you've got to make sure all these pieces line up. So once you got it pushed up on there, then you can take your 2 bolts here and push that in there and get it started, and then get the bottom one started. Just like that. We'll run those back in. Just kind of hand snug them for right this second. All right, let me go get my torque wrench and I'll be right back. All right, y'all. So I went to go get a torque spec and get my torque wrench for this thing. And my book has got to be wrong because it's calling for 100 foot-pounds of torque on this little bitty 10mm bolt head. And that will absolutely break that off. So, word to the wise, don't always trust your torque values in the book. Sometimes they're wrong, and obviously that's going to be wrong. So I put the German torque on it, got it good and tight, about like it was when I took it off. I know it didn't have 100 foot-pounds of torque when I took it off, and but it was dang tight. So that's that side all put back together. Now we're going to walk up here to the cab of the truck. And we're going to reach our old foot in here and ease that brake pedal on down to the floor and let go of it and let it come back up, and then ease it again. And now we got pedal. What that's doing is pushing your brake fluid back out of the master cylinder, through your brake lines and back out to this caliper and seat and everything. So now we should be good. We can put our tire back on and swap to the other side. So let me get this tire back on, and then I'll swap us to the other side, and we'll knock that out real quick and be done. So I'll be back with that. All right, now we have moved to the other side here, and hopefully this will stay in camera this time, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. All right, just like the other side. Sorry. I'm gonna tell you what, stay away from children that have the plague. All right, we got our two 10mm bolts on the back. Well, they're 10mm head anyways. You know what I mean. We're gonna zip those out of there real quick. Yeah, I don't know where that book got that 100 foot-pounds of torque, but there is no way you'd be able to put that on these skinny little bolts without tearing something up. That might have been the mounts for the bracket. I don't know. Don't know. Doesn't really matter. So we'll pull. Now what I'm doing with this screwdriver is I'm sticking it through this hole in the top of the caliper, and I'm catching it on this edge in the center of the rotor, and I'm pulling this caliper this way with this as a lever. And what that's doing is it's starting to push that piston back in, and it'll get us enough clearance where we can get it over these rivets that are in the sides of the brake pads. So go, that should be enough. Yep. So we'll pop that up and we will lay it up on top of there for now. And we'll pull our old pads out. Just like that. And we'll get our box of parts. Box of new parts, I should say. And we will put them here. And we'll match up which one we need for the top here. We'll pop that off of there and put our new spring clip in its place, just like so. And then we will pop our bottom spring clip off, put our new one in its place. Now, I should point out, I don't live in the Rust Belt. If you live in the Rust Belt and these are all rusted and crusty, then you need to clean them off before you put the new clips back on. But as you can see, mine are not really too bad. So we'll just leave it at that. I don't think that these pads are mileage-wise very old. Like I said, the main reason I'm even bothering to replace them is because I just got this truck and I have not really any idea what was put on it over the years. And since I'm driving this thing every day, I want to go ahead and put the brand that I like on it. And that way I know that all my stuff is new. So there we go. Now you'll see I've got, get that in there like so. And we've got our friction material against our rotor, not the metal backing plate. Very important. You search the old YouTube, you'll find a billion videos where people put this on backwards and tear up their rotors. We don't want to do that. So we got that all back in place. Now we'll take our brake caliper here and set it where we can get our clamp in it. Get it pushed back. And again, we're just slowly and evenly pushing the piston back into its bore in the caliper. And as we're doing that, it's pushing the brake fluid back up through the brake lines and into the reservoir of the master cylinder, which is why we loosened that cap earlier. So we want to push that all the way in. It's all the way in. Pull our clamp off. Pull our old brake pad off that we don't need anymore. Throw these ports in the bucket. And we'll check our sliders, make sure they're free and working. They are. And we will lay the bottom end in. First. Nope. No. What's going on here? Okay. Yeah, it's top end first on this side because It's the opposite. And we get our bolts started in there like that, and get our bottom one back in its hole. And usually you gotta wiggle all this around because it's all these little spring clips. It all holds tension on everything so it doesn't rattle and make noise. So we'll tighten these up real quick. All right, and that's that. That side is done. So now, got all our new stuff in. We can go back around here to the driver's door once again. And just like before, we'll slowly depress the brake pedal all the way down and then release it. Let it come up till we get a nice hard pedal telling us that we have pushed the piston back out against the new pads. So now that we've done that, we can go up here under the hood, check our level. It's right at the max, which is where it should be when you got all new brake pads. And that's another reason why you don't want to top this fluid off. If your fluid is low, either your brake pads are worn or you have a leak. You don't want to just throw more brake fluid in here unless you're trying to limp home and unless you know you've got a leak and you're trying to limp home. That's one thing. But if you add fluid to this when it gets low, because as your brake pads wear away, they move closer to the rotor. The piston is farther out in its bore in each caliper. So the fluid, there's more fluid in the caliper. So the fluid level goes down in here. That's not what it's supposed to do. So when you put new pads on there, oh, look at that. Yeah, a bird just sitting there. Huh. So when you put new pads on and you compress those calipers back, when you're all done, and you have all 4 new pads at all 4 corners, your brake fluid should go right back to the max level where it started. So if you would wore your brake pads down and then topped off your brake fluid, and the reason I'm telling you this is because if you go to a place like Jiffy Lube and they top off your brake fluid and then you go to put new brakes on, you're liable to dump fluid out the top of this. So you got to keep an eye out. If somebody's put more fluid in it and topped it off, you're probably going to have to suck some out. But we put the cap back on, we're good there. And that's that. I'll get the other wheel and tire bolted back on, and this brake job will be done. We've got new ones on the front and new ones on the back now. And normally I do those at the same time, but I had the wrong pads. So I had to wait until I got the right pads, and then I had to wait until I had time to do it, because since this plague has invaded us, we've been sick the last week or so. And I still don't feel great today, but stuff's got to get done, so here I am. Can't let another weekend go by, especially it's so nice out. I'm wearing a pair of short pants because it's like 70. It's like 70 degrees right now, and the sun's just coming up. It's going to be like 80 today. It's going to be nice. So, there we go. Hopefully this has helped y'all out, or entertained you, or maybe you can just feel sorry for me for being sick and give me a like for that. I don't know. But, appreciate y'all watching, and We'll see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.